Hello and welcome to Midwest Writers Room. Our mission is to encourage, educate, and celebrate writers of the Midwest. I'm Luella Schmidt.
And I'm Ken Humphrey. Today we're interviewing Alicia Boemi. She calls herself a literary dabbler. She's the author of the children's books The Mailboat Dog and The Safety Patrol Dog.
Alicia has a poetry chapbook called The Lake Remains coming out summer of 2026. She is also the owner of two businesses, a bookstore in Lake Geneva called Lakeside Books and a social media storytelling agency called Izzy Works Media. We are very thrilled to welcome you, Alicia, to Midwest Writers Room. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
Yep, and just for everybody out there, we're recording this on Monday, April 27th, so it's kind of a gloomy day for all of us. So we'll try and keep this one upbeat and light. And having said that, I got to start first with this literary dabbler label that you've
Yeah.
assigned yourself, Alicia. Can you define that for us? And what is that?
Well, when I was trying to come up with how do I fit all the things I do into a tiny Instagram bio that only allows you to have a few characters, I came up with literary dabbler. And on Facebook, you can have a little more characters. So I have professional literary dabbler on there. But basically, it is someone who dabbles professionally in many different aspects of the literary world, from writing children's books and poetry to owning a bookstore to also telling stories through social media for the many clients that I have in the Lake Geneva area. So, professional literary dabbler, that's what it is. It kind of encompasses everything I'm doing.
And that makes perfect sense. So that brings us to talking about some of your endeavors, both on the literary front, well, I guess, and your dabbler front. I'll talk
Right.
a little about Lakeside Books, but let's start first kind of with your origin story. I mean, did you grow up reading and writing? Was this always a path for you?
Yeah, so I grew up reading and writing and grew up in Lake Geneva, so that has always been we would pack a bag and move up here for summer and we'd spend all our holidays here, and it was definitely like the backdrop for my best childhood memories, and I always wanted to capture that on paper. So I would write a lot about Lake Geneva and throughout, high school. And then when I went to college, I majored in, you could do like a dual degree for those people like me who couldn't just choose one. I got a dual degree in public relations. So writing goes into that a lot of times, and then creative writing for English. So I always wanted to write children's books. And then have always loved poetry. My dad was a poet and I probably got it from him. But I didn't know what I wanted to do then. I was volunteering in nonprofits. I was doing internships in the music industry. I was kind of all over the place. I was very young, obviously, just coming out of college. Um, but I knew eventually I wanted to do something. It wasn't until later in life that I actually acted on that.
Okay. So as a child, what genres do you enjoy reading? And if you can, give me a couple, two or three that stay on top of your preferred reading list from when you were a kid.
So I really liked um, books about nature, and that translated into what like my favorite class in college was like environmental literature actually. So I would read when we had to read Walden like for AP English in high school. That always stuck with me. I just really loved it. I loved the way he wrote, and is very poetic, even though it wasn't technically poetry. And then I really liked Emily Dickinson. I know these are like not modern names necessarily, but my mom and my grandma also collected these beautiful books of like Edgar Allan Poe and um, my grandma has like this very old vintage Walden book that I have sitting up on my bookshelf. And so that has stuck with me forever. But I even in the bookstore have like a card for Walden that says like one of Alicia's picks. So though I would say those were my favorites and some of my inspiration.
Well, and you're definitely standing in those towering giants in their genres, right? And all known names.
Hmm.
It's very, very cool.
Hmm.
So when you read now as an adult, are you still within a lot of poetry? Do you have other genres you like to read?
Yeah, I kind of bounce around and we have book clubs for Lakeside Books and I try to read all those books. Um, I I definitely like general, like contemporary fiction. One of my favorite books is that I made everyone in book club read is Sea of Tranquility. It's actually about time travel, but the way she writes is like her pacing and the way she writes is very poetic. And it's a lot of some of it's nature-based writing. So, and that's Emily St. John Mandel. I'm reading her new one that comes out in September as well. Love her. Uh, I'm also we for our book club tomorrow we're talking about Heart the Lover, which I really liked. Kind of that coming of age story. It's not, I wouldn't consider it romance. I'd consider it more coming of age, and I do like coming of age books a lot. So it's kind of all over the place. I do like a mystery thriller here and there too. So
Very good. And it's a good kind of a segue to talk about Lakeside Books itself. So,
Mhm.
you're, a year or two into it now. Was that always part of your plan to have a bookstore, or what was that trigger that caused you to say, okay, I'm going to do it?
Well, it was a couple of things. I kind of manifested it years ago with my husband and was like, wouldn't it be dreamy if we owned the bookstore in Lake Geneva? And then I worked with the bookstore that was here for a while through them selling my book and doing like readings and things like that. But and we, and then she was almost going to sell it to us when she was ready to move on to the next phase in her life, but it didn't work out for various reasons. And so I basically, yeah, looked at my husband and was like, we need to do something. Like there can't not be a bookstore. And I am a go-getter. I've started nonprofits and I obviously started my social media company and but I've been in like the startup world for nonprofits throughout most of my career before this. And so I was like, I know how to do it. I know how to do social media. Like I know books. So let's just start with the mobile because real estate in Lake Geneva is tricky. And let's see if a spot opens up, for brick and mortar, and we'll grow it. So we started with the bookmobile. Literally, our first event was on Independent Bookstore Day 2025, so last year at this time. And we just had our first Independent Bookstore Day this past weekend in the brick and mortar. So it was kind of like a mini, not like totally an anniversary, but kind of a mini anniversary. It was cool.
And as in this interested disclaimer, I'm just outside of Lake Geneva, about 10 minutes east of there. And so I've been to your bookstore a couple of times. And I was there with my wife recently. And the arch of books that sits outside the entryway. So let me describe this marketplace that you're in. It's kind of like an indoor mall. You
Yeah.
walk in, and there's this kind of a large throughway in the middle of it, and off to the side of on each side are storefronts. And so you're set back behind, I think, the first entry. And as you walk towards your store, you see this arch of books. Talk us through how that came about and the poor soul that had to put that together for you, because I kind of know
Yeah.
the backstory already.
Um, so yes, the book arch. The book arch was my brainchild because initially we were going to actually just rent out that area that was in the where the book arch was and call it our book nook space. And then the storefront next to it became available. So we were like, well, what if we did both? And so I said, I still want that book arch though. Like I can just see it. And it would be so cool if that's the first thing you see and you have to like walk under it. And so we did some mock-ups and all that sort of thing. And then the contractors who did our basement, these two brothers, I was like, hey guys, you want to build a book arch? And I'll pay you obviously, but I have no clue how you do it. You're gonna have to do a lot of research. Here's some stuff on Pinterest and go at it. And it was like an engineering project for them, like a lot of math. There's no way I could have done it because I'm not great with very technical math like that. But it has a rod that they had to shape a very specific way to fit in the area that it fits in. And then they drilled holes in all of the books. The books had to be a certain thickness. They couldn't go over or under a certain thickness. So they had to like they went to Goodwill and like measured all the books out and then glued all the books together, stuck the rod through. Like it was a process. But it looks awesome. And I want our bookstore to not only be Lake Geneva's community bookstore, but be a destination for people. And I think that the way you do that these days is creating experiences and places where people can take selfies and post pictures. And so that was part of my idea there. And then we have the like book wall backdrop of like all the open books, which is really, I think, a nice touch for the space.
Would wholeheartedly agree. I mean, it's such a great entrance to the store, opening a welcoming entrance to the store. It's right out in this main thoroughway. So when all these people are walking around back and forth, which is Lake Geneva in the summer all the time, it's just
Mhm.
people wandering all around. They get to see this, regardless whether they come in or not. I'm sure it leaves an impression because, I don't think anybody's ever seen this before. And you're right. When I think about doing a book arch, I don't consider all the technical math that goes in on load balancing and thickness and all
Yeah,
the other stuff. So kudos to them for getting that done.
they did an
So,
amazing job. So,
yep. And
yeah.
so you're good. And I know Luella's going to talk a little more about the social media aspect or the company that you've got going on, but you're very, very active there on social media. And also you're very active in doing author promotions. I know the latest one I saw is I think you got Geneva Rose coming with
Mhm.
Charlie Donnelly in
Mhm.
I think a few weeks or whatever. So kind of talk to us about that. How are you, I guess organizing or pulling all these author events in?
That's a great question. Part of it is working with our library, and we have a great partnership with them. Emily, their director, and then their librarians, their youth librarian, Wendy, and Ellen, who's also on staff there. They're amazing for the community. And so part of the events are us, but part of the events are them. And uh, it's a collaborative event, but it's also a collaborative effort between the two of us to, if I get an author, I go like Marissa Walls is coming and I approach the library about working with us on her event. Charlie Donnelly approached the library and the library approached us. So it's very like we go back and forth between the two. And then Geneva got brought in for the Charlie Donnelly event. And so it's very much going back and forth between the two of us. And I love that. That's why I wanted to have a bookstore was to be a collaborative community effort. It brings people into the library. Brings people into the bookstore. It brings people closer to literature, which is what we all want, essentially. So so the events that we do are they're really great because they benefit both of us and ultimately they're benefiting the community as well. We haven't seen authors like this come to Lake Geneva because I've been around Lake Geneva for a while, I don't want to give away my age, but it's been a while. And it's just great to see that these authors are willing to come here. And so I think we need to support them, whether they come through the library or come through Lakeside Books, but pretty much they're coming through both of us. And so I think it's a great community endeavor that we've built with the library.
Yeah. And I ran across Charlie when he was doing an event at Blue House Books a month or two
Mhm.
ago. I'm trying to get him on here to do an episode. We've been going back and forth trying to find scheduling. And so good on you
Mm,
because, Geneva Rose, Charlie Donnelly, I mean, these are not just, first time book authors trying to launch their self-promoted memoir, right? These
right.
are, these people have some standing, some caliber in the book world. They've churned out a lot of books.
Yeah.
All right. Luella, should we dive into the WWA message?
You bet.
All right. So, folks, for this episode, we're going to be turning this WWA message segment over to Rob Grindstaff for some craft tips. Take it away, Rob.
This is Rob Grindstaff with Unfiltered Fiction. Filtering is when you pass the scene through the character's senses rather than showing the scene directly to readers through the character's point of view. The basic gist of filtering is when the writer uses phrases like he saw, she heard, he felt, as in a sense of touch. Rather than showing the scene to readers, this tells the reader that the character sees and hears the scene, which we assume the character sees and hears the scene. These phrases tell rather than show, but worse, they create a distance, a tiny fraction of space between readers and the scene. They push the reader out of the point of view character's head. The writer's camera is focused on the character and his senses and his reactions rather than letting the readers experience the moment directly. You want readers to see, hear, and feel the scene, not be told that the character sees, hears, and feels it. There are also thought and emotion filters such as he noticed, she realized, he knew, she felt, as in emotion, like she felt sad. This will probably make more sense with a quick example. When Joe heard the rattling, shaking sound, he looked down and saw the snake coiled on the path in front of him. He knew it was ready to strike. Joe felt the panic rise in his throat. In this example, the verbs are heard, looked, saw, knew, and felt. The writer is telling the readers that Joe heard a snake, that Joe looked for a snake, that Joe saw a snake, that Joe knew the snake was about to strike, and that Joe felt panicked. It's all about what Joe senses rather than showing the snake and letting readers feel a little bit of panic. So let's revise that paragraph with no filters, trying to keep the reader firmly grounded inside Joe's head and Joe's point of view. The rattle and shake stopped Joe in his tracks. The snake blocked his path, coiled in front of him, ready to strike. Joe stifled the scream that tried to escape. Same scene, same sentences, zero filters. It shows the readers the moment at the same time and in the same way that Joe experiences it. Readers hear the rattle, see the snake, sense the danger, and feel a bit of panic, as if they are Joe without being told that Joe hears and sees it. No filters. Search your manuscript for filtering phrases and see how many you can eliminate. Put the reader inside your character's head.
And we're back. So back to Alicia. So tell me a little bit, tell us a little bit about your social media company, IzzyWorks. Why did you launch it?
I launched it when okay, for some backstory, I worked in nonprofits from college until basically somewhat through IzzyWorks when I launched it in 2014. But I really launched it because I was being asked by other nonprofits from the one I primarily worked for to help them with things like social media and marketing and program development. And so I needed a way to do that by being a 1099 contractor essentially. So I started my own LLC, called it Izzy Works. It's after my dog because everything was after my dog at the time. And it really became a bridge for helping nonprofits with social media. But then the more that I networked and people saw the work that I was doing with these nonprofits, for-profit businesses would come along and say, well, hey, can you do my social media, my marketing too? Um, and it's all about the story that you tell. It's not necessarily, oh, you're for profit, you're nonprofit. It is, at the end of the day, social media is all about telling a story. And so I could do that for authors, which I have worked with. I could do that for nonprofits. I could do that for small businesses, coffee shops, hotels, you name it, different boutiques. And that's essentially all it is it's storytelling, but on social media. And yes, you have to know how to post and how to take video and different angles and lighting and things like that. But that's like the more technical, like nerdy stuff I would say. And then the storytelling is what comes naturally to me because I like to write and all of that.
Yeah. I love the idea that social media is basically storytelling. I mean, that is very true. And so
Mhm.
if you're helping, let's say, authors with, developing their brand or if they're working with Izzy Works, do you have some common best practices that you find yourself kind of repeating to your clients over and over again?
Yeah, well, it's to, it really depends on with authors what their goals are and if they have one book that they're wanting to sell and get out into the world, or if they are a whole brand with different books and different genres. And so it depends on the writing and what their goals are ultimately. But I would say that you can tell your story that's separate from the book itself. Like people don't just want to hear and be sold a book all the time. They want to know about you and who's behind that book. And that's why a lot of these authors, like we mentioned Geneva Rose, why she is so successful like on social media too, is because we get to know her and who's behind that book. And so I think a lot of authors are shy and they want to write a book and put it out there and then never show their face, but that's not how it works. Yeah, so I would say get in front of the camera more. Show your face, show your brand, show who you are. The storytelling comes from you, and aspects of your life are what people want to see as well. So,
Nice. Any, I guess, common mistakes that you see when you're dealing with your author clients?
um, yes. Uh, taking video horizontally versus vertically, and the algorithm does not like that. And just the aspect ratios in general, making sure that it's so easy now in whether you're using like Canva or CapCut or whatever to have those aspect ratios be correct. So when I see them not correct, I'm like, well, but I don't understand. It's all like there for you. So I definitely getting nailing those aspect ratios, and then hard selling. You have, like I said, you have to tell your story. You have to put something else in there instead of just trying to hard sell all the time.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's talk for a minute about your writing.
Okay.
Um, you have some children's books and then you have a chapbook coming out, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Tell us a little bit about the children's books.
The children's books, yes, the mailboat dog and the safety patrol dog. And then I'm hoping there will be a third one in the series that I have ideas written down for, but haven't fully written it yet. But they were inspired by my dog, Izzy. And like the name Izzy Works came from Izzy. These books came from Izzy. And I had been going through severe writer's block for children's books. Like I had different ideas on like, well, maybe I want to write about anti-bullying and maybe I want to like I bought a bunch of books on like how to write children's books and there were just to get my ideas flowing and all it took was during COVID, I was on a boat ride with Izzy, and the mailboat drove by, and I thought the light bulb went off in my head. I thought, if Izzy could be anything, like have a job here in Lake Geneva, she would totally be a mail jumper because she loves jumping off the pier. She loves boat rides. We were sitting there together and it just like clicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, I should write a book about this. That'd be so cute called The Mailboat Dog. And it has like a little life lesson in it, like a moral of the story. And yeah, it just came out of me. And then Safety Patrol came shortly after, because what is more iconic than they're on the same icon level, but Mailboat and Safety Patrol for Lake Geneva, like those two, I feel like you just know about if you're here. And so it made sense that her next adventure would be with the Safety Patrol.
I love it.
Before we,
I
before we
love
get
that
too
so
much,
much of your life is named after your dog. I can relate to
Yeah.
this.
Yes.
and Alicia too, for people who aren't aware, listeners and viewers on this, talk us through a little bit about the whole mail delivery tradition on Lake Geneva, because that's an event in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, so the mailboat literally is one of, I think there's two boats. I think there's one in Maine. And this one goes around. It's called the Walworth, but it's like slang name is the mailboat around Lake Geneva. And so it delivers the US mail during the summer from June until I think the beginning of September to each of the houses around the lake. They have to opt into it basically. But my personal connection, because people were like, oh, were you a mail jumper? No, but I got the mail from the mailboat growing up. We would run to our association pier and literally wait. We'd see the mailboat coming down the lake, and we'd all of us kids in the neighborhood would say, oh my God, we got to go get the mail. And we'd run down the lake path to the association main pier, run down the pier, and then wait for the jumper to jump and deliver the mail to us. And we would get the stack of mail, and then it would get delivered by the property caretaker to each of the houses in our association. And so, like, that is literally like burned in my brain as a core memory of getting the mail from the mailboat as a kid. It's so fun. And then watching the mailboat deliver to the houses like around us in our association is something now my kids are seeing, which is really cool. So yeah, it's been going on for like 100 years, I think.
And
Even
it's
better
actually, I mean,
to have your dog be the mail carrier guy.
yeah.
Right?
Sorry, Ken, what?
No, I mean, it's such an event. You can buy tickets to
You
ride
can buy
along
tickets.
on this
Yep.
mailboat
Wow.
and
Yep.
watch these. And these, I mean, and they're kids generally because you have to be nimble and fast. They
Yeah.
literally jump off the front of the boat onto the dock, run all up to the
Run.
mailbox, slam it,
Yeah.
run back, and catch the back of the boat,
Yep. Yeah.
before it passes. And it's incredible to watch again and again and again. I mean, they're just doing this repeatedly. It is
Yep.
something.
It's
I
cool.
love it.
And yeah, you can take a tour to be on the tour that delivers the mail around. So it's fun.
That's very cool. Very cool local lore that I otherwise would not have known about.
Yeah, yeah. And then the safety patrol, they are the ones who keep the lake safe every summer. So they literally patrol the lake. And they have a dog named Kish who helps them. And he's written in my safety patrol book. He teaches Izzy some things about water safety. And my core memory with them is whenever a storm was coming around the lake, they would go around and flash their lights and sirens around the lake. And so you would clearing the lake saying, get off the lake to all the boaters. and us people sitting on our piers just watching as it was happening. But they would clear the lake, and they still do that if like a really bad storm's coming. So
Nice.
yeah.
And let's talk just briefly about your chapbook coming up. Is there kind of
Yeah.
an overarching theme to it, or what can you tell us about it?
So yes, it's called The Lake Remains. It's actually a story of grief and has to do with, you're gonna laugh, Izzy. So it's mainly like a grief story based on some things that I went through after she passed away, but it can be applicable to humans, dogs, anyone you've lost. And it tells a story of like friendship and going through things together and then losing someone that's really important to you. And I write pretty short poetry, so it's not like a long read by any means. I like to pack a punch with short poetry by using like really thoughtful and methodical words for a reason. So it's not going to be a long read. But yeah, I really wanted to do something with my poetry, and I started submitting it, and it got picked up by an indie publisher. So it's super exciting. Yeah.
That is really exciting.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good for
you.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to get to the special sauce question in a second, but this one
Okay.
I'm dying to ask you because you wear so many hats. Tell me a little bit about how you stay organized and what your typical day looks like,
Well,
if there is such a
today,
thing.
today I signed up to for my kids' teacher appreciation week to bring coffee, and I got the week wrong, so they get coffee today and then next week. So there's some a biff on my organization. I'm
So
a
you're
week
not
ahead.
perfect, is what you're saying.
Right.
Phew.
No. I have many, I mean, my life is my Google Calendar, and it's integrated with our Lakeside Books calendar. So I know who's on shift there and all those good things. And I know when my husband's traveling and who's got what going on when. Um, I use Trello. I don't know if you're familiar with that for keeping all my different boards and everything organized. So I would say that. And then, getting up early to have me time is important. So yeah.
Amen to that. All right, we are ready for our special sauce discussion. If you're a new listener, this is a question we like to ask people that is sometimes a little bit deeper and a little bit more about what you have, how you've become who you've become, or what you nerd out on the side, aside from writing and literary dabbling. So, what do you got for us, Alicia?
When I was in college, I was heavily involved in the music industry. I had some pretty cool experiences that I don't know how like a 18-year-old would like get to do these things, but I did. And it was awesome. But so I worked in the music industry. I had internships with radio stations, record label, and with like Eric Clapton's Crossroad Festival. That's probably like one of the way cooler ones. But that really shaped for me so much of the marketing that I do now. Like I thought that I was going to go into the music industry when I graduated college. I had a job all lined up with Live Nation, and I decided not to go for it. I got burnt out and I was tired. And I mentioned previously that I had been dabbling in like nonprofits and um, doing all that work. And so I'll never forget the call I made to my boyfriend, who is now my husband. I said, I don't know if I can do anything else in the music industry. I probably won't make a lot of money if I work in like dog rescue. Um, so sorry, but I can't take this job. I've just done like too much and I'm too tired. And he said, okay. And then I worked in dog rescue for 15 years, and it led to all this marketing and event production and working hands-on with different organizations. Saved a lot of dogs. Ended up with 5 dogs at one time of my own. And yeah, so that's like what what like makes me who I am, is just kind of being like bootstrapping things. And I've always worked that way, whether it was in the music industry, like being the intern, running back and forth at concerts, doing different tasks, or um, being the person running a 300-person event at the Drake Hotel in Chicago, running back and forth, a lot of running back and forth. So I do
Well,
less
kudos
of,
to you for
yeah,
knowing that you were burnt out and knowing that
yeah,
you needed something. I mean, that's a brave choice by itself, especially
yeah.
when we go to school for things and we feel like we're obligated to follow, follow, follow. So I feel like that's actually brave.
Yeah, it was definitely scary because all you hear about out of college is, oh, you need a job right away, and I had this job right away. But I went to work at a concert for like one of my training days, and the artist was treating people so badly, and I was like, I'm not doing this. So
Well, considering what Live Nation is going through right now, you might have just kind of,
I might have
skipped
dodged a bullet.
yeah, dodged that bullet right there. All right.
Yeah, but what makes me still tick is live music. I love live music. We go to concerts all the time. We just went to Coachella, and we're planning on going to a few more this summer in different states. Like we like to travel for shows, and so that's what I think at the core of it is the secret sauce. Is I still love my music. I just like being more of a fan now than working it. It's too tiring to work it.
That is an excellent
You're,
secret sauce.
you're kindred spirit to my daughter. She's the same way. She works in event production out in Milwaukee. She worked for the Paps Theater for a while, so she could
Hmm.
get close to a lot of the shows that they had there. But now she does general event promotion, but loves going to concerts just like you.
It's the best. Yeah.
So tell our listeners and viewers where they can find you out there in the real world and the virtual world.
Yes. So you can follow for Lakeside Books. You can find us on lakesidebookslg.com. And then for our social media, it's all at Lakeside Books LG. For me, I'm at alicia.boemi. That's Boemi. And I'm often bopping around the bookstore on a daily basis, or giving an employee a break, or what have you. And then uh, my social media work is izzyworksmedia.com. And I forgot to mention for Lakeside Books, we're in the market of Lake Geneva on Main Street in downtown Lake Geneva. So 830 West Main Street, 830 West Main Street for Lakeside Books.
All right, very good. And we'll list all those handles down in the show notes for this
Awesome.
program. All right, well, are we on to good news?
We are ready for some good news. Listeners, if you want to send us yours, we'll give you a shout out on the podcast. The email address is podcast@wiwrite.org. I am going to kick us off with a shout out to WWA member Shoshana Shai, who's got poetry that is featured in a new anthology coming out May 4th called Knickerbocker Oak, Poems of the Dudgeon Monroe Neighborhood. According to the Isthmus, this is a full color collection, like a perfect bound 72 pager, I believe what it was. I didn't write that part down, but I just thought it sounds so beautiful, where 11 poets and 4 photographers are just kind of capturing the everyday magic of one Madison neighborhood, a very, very beautiful Madison neighborhood. Um, all the mundane things like dog walks and sidewalk chalk and the landmark tree and stuff like that. And I just thought that was really, really cool and sort of reminded me of our discussion today about, local Lake Geneva as well, and how, I don't know, the local scene is always very alive. Congratulations to you, Shoshana. Ken, what do you got for us?
All right. So mine's a little more mundane and, unsurprisingly, golf oriented for our frequent listeners. So my wife and I set out to golf 50 rounds this year between May and September. Was our goal. 50 different rounds, not necessarily 50 different courses. We want to do 10 new courses. Well, as of yesterday, we had already hit 6. It's not even May yet. But I think the biggest thing is I'm watching my wife start to swing better. She's starting to, actually make better contact on the ball. I mean, she gets angry and fed up because every hit is not perfect. Every stroke is not perfect, which I don't know why she's expecting that. But I can see improvement in her. And I find that very, very exciting because now she's kind of transforming from, well, I just don't want to embarrass myself to, oh, I'm starting to enjoy some of the hits. I'm starting to feel a little more confident and successful. And so that really makes me happy because I want her to enjoy it as well. How about you, Alicia? What do you got for good news?
I would say my good news is that our pier is going in down in the association, and the tour boats, so like the mail boat, the mail jumpers haven't started yet, but the tour boats started this weekend. And so we were out on Saturday night, and the kids were running around and playing soccer and everything. And it was just beautiful on the water, and the tour boats were going. So, like, that is good news because summer is around the corner and it's the best time here. I love it year round, but I mean, it doesn't get much better than in the summer. So, it's good signs all around.
Yeah, there's something very exciting when you start to see those signs. The grass gets greener, the piers
Yeah.
go in, you start seeing boats showing up, filling up those piers. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always a great sign. How
Yep.
about you, Luella? What do you got for us?
My good news is that I am just fresh on the heels of a 3-day birthday weekend extravaganza, which is what I named it. And I got to go to Minneapolis and Rochester and back home to Madison and spend a lot of time with friends and family. And as a reward, since I turned 56, I hobbled around my house all day yesterday with a sore back from too much.
Oh,
So, I mean, I shouldn't end it on the bad news. I survived birthday extravaganza weekend, let's say. All right, listeners, again, that's podcast at wiwrite.org. We would love to give you a shout out on the pod.
All right. And at this time, I want to thank Alicia for coming on to the show and sharing some of our tips, tricks, and news about her life with us. Viewers and listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star rating in your app of choice. This is the type of action that helps us grow this program, spread it out to more listeners. I want to thank everybody for listening and viewing the Midwest Writers Room. I'm Ken Humphrey.
And I'm Luella Schmidt. Words ignite imaginations and spark change. Never underestimate the power of storytelling.
Midwest Writers Room is a production of the Wisconsin Writers Association. Writing and editing by Luella Schmidt and Ken Humphrey. Sound design and editing by Ken Humphrey. Music for the Midwest Writers Room was written by Michael Ramir C. For more information, please visit wiwrite.org/podcast. Thank you.